And it is my privilege and honor to be able to introduce our fabulous speaker for this evening, Dr. Nataly Castelblanco Martinez. Nataly has more than 25 years of experience in research and conservation across Latin America and the Caribbean. She specializes in aquatic resource management with a strong focus on conserving vulnerable species and ecosystem. She leads conservation research projects on a variety of species, including dolphins, whales, lionfish, and even hippos. She is currently a researcher at Colegio de la Frontera Sur, where she leads the Laboratory of Aquatic Mammals and serves as curator of the Marine Mammal Collection. She also coordinates the technical scientific group of the Marine Mammal Stranding Response Network for the state of Quintana Roo, Mexico. She has a Master's of Science in Aquatic Biology and Fisheries from the National Institute for Amazonian Research and a PhD in Ecology and Sustainable Development from El Colegio de la Frontera Sur. Dr. Castelblanco also serves as co-chair of the IUCN Serenian Specialist Group and has over 40 peer-reviewed publications and book chapters on the Greater Caribbean manatees. And with that, I turn over this presentation to my lovely colleague, Nataly.
Let me open my, are you hear me? Do you hear me well? Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation to Save the Manatee Club. And I'm very glad to tell you about some of the subjects that is fascinating me during the last years. And I hope everybody likes it as much as me. I'm apologizing if someone of you already saw a presentation of mine, which is part of this talk, but I promise also that there are new and very interesting stuff in the presentation. So let me just share it, present. Let me see if it's working. Okay. If there is any issue with the visualization, just please let me know. Okay, so Beth already made a very good presentation of my career very fast. I have been working with Manatee for many years, and I always like to start by putting ourselves in the perspective of the taxonomy of the group, just to remember where the Greater Caribbean manatees are. So let's remember that there is 3 species of manatees, which are the West African manatee, the Amazonian manatee, and the American manatee, which is known also as the West Indian manatee. But very recently, a group of colleagues, including myself, we are proposing to change the West Indian manatee by the vernacular name American manatee, to be more consequent with the geographical origin of the species. This species is divided in 2 subspecies, the Florida manatee in Florida, which is Trichechus manatulati, and the Greater Caribbean manatee, which is also known as the Antillean manatee. And again, we are proposing to use a name that reflects better the location, the geographical location of these subspecies. So this is in general the distribution of the greater or Antillean manatees, which is very wide distribution, which goes from the Gulf of Mexico to the northeast of Brazil, and is including also the rivers of South America and Mesoamerica and the Antillean islands, the Greater Antillean islands. This is very interesting because you can see that even though it's a very wide distribution, the Greater Caribbean manatees are also in a very discontinuous distribution, which is also a problem for conservation. And I don't talk too much about the conservation status for the subspecies right now, but just to remind that the subspecies is considered endangered by the IUCN, and this is due mainly to anthropogenic factors, like, for example, an historical record of hunting in many of the locations of the distribution area, and also boat collisions and the loss of habitat and degradation of the habitat too, which is probably now the most important threat to the subspecies. Something really interesting in this subspecies is that it's probably the most plastic uh, group of manatees in the world, because it can be adapted to very, very different environments. So you can see Antillean or Caribbean manatees in this kind of ecosystem, which is the coast of the northeast of Brazil, which is the sea. Basically, there is no rivers, there is no entrances to the continent. It's just like that. It's just beaches like that. Then you have also these mangrove islands in Belize, for example. And then we have the rivers. Then we have the Magdalena River, or the this other river in the Orinoco. So you have a very different environments that are used by these subspecies. So you have also a big difference in salinity, in transparency, in the kind of resources that the animal can take to feed, etc. So this is examples in Belize, in French Guiana, in Mexico, in Colombia, etc. So some years ago, with Eric and another group of colleagues, we started to work with body condition index for this subspecies, and because we wanted to standardize a method to be able to measure manatees with drones. Right, so we started doing this exercise with animals in captivity. And once we had all the information, we realized that we didn't have like natural, I mean, not natural, but native manatees measured. And I said, no, we have. We actually had captured many manatees, Antillean manatees in the world, so we can actually know the sizes of manatees that we have in the nature. So then we started to compilate all the information for many, many groups of colleagues around South America and Central America and the Caribbean that have captured manatees because of health assessment, of rescues, or tagging and tracking projects, etc. And we found 480 manatees that have been captured in different countries from the 70s until 2020. Those are the areas where manatees were captured. You can see we have data in Mexico, even in the either in the area of the Caribbean and also in the Gulf of Mexico. We have manatee being captured in Cuba, in Puerto Rico, in Colombia, Belize, and Brazil. So this is another way to show the information. So we have all those animals captured, and Belize have a record because it had received a lot of attention in terms of research. So this is very good. So we took this information of the body condition for those animals, and we did an analysis, and we try also to see if there were differences between the morphometrics between areas. And then we found this graphic that called us our attention, because we can see that there are two groups that have body condition index lower, statistically significantly lower than the others. And then we realized, that these two correspond to the riverine ecotype. It means animals that live exclusively in fresh water, while the others in blue are animals that are more, let's say, more fat in terms of body condition index. And those are animals from the coastal ecotype. So there are animals that were captured in estuaries or in coastal areas, while the others were captured in the Magdalena Basin and Usumacinta Basin in Colombia and Mexico, respectively. So then we came with this idea with several colleagues, some of them are here, proposing that there are two different ecotypes of the subspecies. One ecotype that is the marine or coastal ecotype, let's say, is animals that are in the coast, but they are also moving between the estuaries and the mouth of the rivers. And another ecotype that is occupying freshwater areas and probably never got out to the sea. And we have differences, important differences in the morphotype and in the size of those animals. Then we were working with Chip Dodge in this chapter, and we came with this model, a very, very simplistic model of how the seasonal or the movement patterns of these kind of different manatees, Antillean manatees or Caribbean manatees we can find. So we have first the interior riverine population, which are animals that never goes to the sea. Then we have the coastal population that are animals that are probably in coral reef, in coastal lagoons, but they also enter into the rivers. And in orange, you see a population that is in between. I mean, those are animals that stay most of the time in the river, but eventually can go to the estuary and eventually can go up to the rivers. The point is that regardless where the manatees are, they have like different stimulus that uh, makes them to move. And so in the case of the riverine ecotype, the manatees are in systems that have this kind of pulse, the riverine pulse that consist in a high water season where the waters are high, or the animals can access the vegetation of the border of the rivers, and they can move a lot because the floodplain is very wide. And then when you have the low season, then the manatees have to go to the deepest areas or of the river. So this kind of movement is kind of very predictable because it depends on the level of the river that is also super predictable in these systems like the Magdalena or the Sumacinta or the Orinoco River. So those animals have this kind of movements that are totally adapted to this situation of the floodplain. In the case of the coastal ecotype, the movements, they also move depending on the seasons, but it's different. Here they don't depend on the level of the rivers, but here they are going to be depending on the freshwater this availability. So let's remember also that manatees, they need to take fresh water, let's say every several days, like 6 or 7 days, they need to take fresh water to regulate well the salinity. So they are not like marine mammals. So when they say the manatees are marine mammals, are always correct. Manatees are not marine mammals. They are aquatic mammals because they really depend on fresh water. So in the case of the coastal ecotype, the animals normally are in the estuary. They are moving to the coral reef, and in the rainy season, the fresh water is coming more into the estuary, so they can stay more time in the estuary. But in the dry season, when there is no fresh water incoming, the manatees maybe they need to enter more into the rivers, going up into the rivers to be able to drink fresh water. With this in mind, I want to tell you some study cases or some examples of plasticity and adaptation of greater Caribbean manatees. So the first example that I have is about Turneff Atoll in Belize. So let's remember the manatees, they need fresh water. And when I was working in Oceanic Society, they had a field station there in the atoll, in Turneff Atoll. This is the atoll, which is a group of 100 of islands, mangrove islands. And there is a group of manatees, it's a population of manatees that is very stable, that we see all the time along the year in many parts of the atoll. But the atoll doesn't have any source of fresh water. And we were always trying to understand how those animals are doing to survive without fresh water, because the Turneff Atoll is kind of far from the coast. And this area transiting from Belize City to Turneff Atoll is kind of full of boats, and is very deep, and it has a big current. So we didn't understand how those manatees could survive there. So then we did a capture of 2 individuals. It was a female that was actually pregnant by the time, and this young male. So we captured them in Turneff, actually. We tagged them with satellite telemetry, and then we can see the movements of the female. So she went straight, and she was pregnant, she was straight to Northern Lagoon, which is an area of fresh water. And then she came back again where we captured her. And then we have the male, who, this is the female too. And then we have the male who did exactly the same. Just he arrived in the mouth of the Belize River, and he came back to Turneff Atoll. And they were doing this as like a clock every weekend. So every weekend, no, every week, they were moving. So they stayed 1 week in Ternate Atoll, then they took a trip of a couple of days to the mainland, and then they came back to the Ternate Atoll, and they were doing this regularly. For all the months that we were tracking those individuals, and the female was in the last part of the pregnancy, and so we calculate that she got birth during the time of the tracking, so she was actually traveling with the baby. If everything went well, we didn't see her with the baby, but we assumed that she had a baby, and she was doing all this trip, moving in between the boats, etc., just to get some fresh water. So conclusion: no, there is no fresh water in Ternate Atoll, and the animals could just adapt and learn a route to come back to the continent to drink fresh water. So basically what is happening is that the way we explain this is that Ternate is a very rich area with a lot of seagrasses, and there is not too many manatees compared to the part of the Belize City and the part of the continent. So probably the animals are just like in a big restaurant with a lot of seagrasses, a lot of nice places of shelter too, but they don't have fresh water. So it's like when you decide to live outside of the city because there is less traffic and less people, but you need to come back several times just to buy food to the city. So basically it's the same. They are doing like this trade-off of, okay, in the mainland I will have fresh water, but in the atoll I will have high quality food, I have safety, I have less competition, and but I have low energy cost trying to escape of the boat collisions and stuff. So this is something very unique. At least has not been documented in other atoll that I know. So this is very interesting. Then we have this another case that is the manatees we have here in the south of Quintana Roo in Chetumal Bay. So we have our manatees are in Xcalac, which is in the coast, close to the coral reef, and then we have animals also in Chetumal Bay, which is famous for the abundance of manatees too, and they can enter in the Hondo River. And all our research of tagging or stable isotopes, everything has shown that manatees are moving between those environments. So you see, okay, manatees can eat seagrasses, and manatees can eat algae, and manatees can eat in the Hondo River a lot of things too. Why they don't stay in the Hondo River if it's fresh water? Why they have to move between areas if they have everything they need in the Hondo River? So then my student Catherine came with this very nice idea of trying to see what is the bromatology of the plants that are consumed by manatees. So we took samples of different species from the seagrasses in the coral reef to plants that are in the estuarium, and plants that are in the river. Of course, we have species that are shared depending on their tolerance to salinity or to fresh water that the plants have. But we have a very interesting tendency. The trend is that the plants that are in the salt water are more nutritious for manatees than those that are in the river. So basically what we have here in terms of nutrients and in terms of the quality of the plants is that in the coastal plants, they are less diverse. So in the sea, we have seagrasses, algae, mangrove, and that's it. We don't have many choices for manatees. We have a very few species of plants, or autotrophos if you want. But the riverine plants, they are highly diverse. So we have, in the river, we have aquatic plants, semi-aquatic plants, terrestrial plants, and the animals, the manatees can eat a lot of species of plants. But in the seagrasses, they have high protein levels, and in the riverine plants, the protein is very low. The coastal plants are low in lignin and fiber, which means that they are highly digestive, while the efficiency digestive is also high. So in conclusion, it means that in terms of nutrition, the seagrasses are better for manatees than the riverine plants. So in this case, the animals also has to do like this trade-off. Okay, I need to go to the river to take fresh water, but also I need to have a good alimentation. So I go to the coral reef to take some seagrasses because this is the best for my nutrition. So he's moving between environments just to try to compensate the different cost or in lack of fresh water or lack of nutrients. And then we have this other very nice case here about the Yucatan Peninsula and the manatees that we have here. So in Quintana Roo, we have manatees in all the coast from Chetumal Bay, which is in the frontier with Belize, going up until Holbox, which is also the frontier with the Yucatan state of Mexico. And of course, we have a lot of manatees in the coastal lagoons, like Chetumal Bay is a coastal lagoon. Then we have other two big bays, which are the Espiritu Santo Bay and the Ascension Bay in Siancan, which is an area that is also very important for manatees. And in all the way to the north, if everyone knows Cancun or Playa del Carmen, this is an area that can be important for manatees too. Though that is like normal, the normal situation. But then we have this kind of structures of formation in the Yucatan Peninsula that is called cenotes, right? Which are this kind of formation of the karstic system of the Yucatan Peninsula inside of the continent. And then we have seen manatees there in areas where there is not apparent connection, a superficial connection with the sea or any other body water, right? Like this one that we have here. And we have a constant presence of manatees in this kind of area. And how those manatees get there? This is one of the first thing that we wonder, how those animals arrive in this area when it's not connection. And definitely the manatees don't crawl. Definitely they don't fly. So what is happening is that you need to imagine the karstic system of the Yucatan Peninsula like a Gruyere cheese, where you have a labyrinthic system of channels and tunnels and caves underground. So in this case of this cave here, probably what is happening is that there is a way or a path that we don't exactly know, where the manatees are moving from the sea to the cenote, where they can find also fresh water because it's connected to the freshwater subterranean system of fresh water, and going back. And how do we know that, or what are the evidence of this movement of these animals moving between caves? First, we have a colleague that is a scuba diver, a friend of mine that is Klaus Thymann, that who started to explore these caves or these tunnels underground, and he started to find manatees. And particularly, he found several times females with the calf. Which is really interesting because you wonder how those animals decided one day to go in a very small, I don't know if it's small, but in a cave underwater and underground that is dark and they don't know where they are going. So this is like a little scary. Well, it's scary for me because I'm claustrophobic, but also it's like how they decided, who has this idea to get into these holes. But also, we have in one of these cenotes a colleague that is working with me right now, that is Valentina Cushara. She's a biologist, but also an excellent and amazing photographer. And you can have seen in my presentation several of her photographies. And she has been able to photo identify a group of about 12 manatees there. And you can see that the waters are very transparent and the animals are beautiful and it looks like Florida. It's not Florida. So she was able to identify several of those animals, and one of them, and I want to call your attention in this beautiful guy here down in the corner, is Pythagora, because he has this nice white triangle in the chest, and he's a very friendly manatee that's always come very close to the camera. And this is very key for us to understand what is happening. What is interesting here in the case of this group of manatees in this cenote is that they are not always there, and sometimes there are new manatees, and sometimes it's the same manatee. Pythagoras likes a lot this place, so she can see him very often using this cenote. But there are others that are new and just come eventually. So this this allow us to believe that there is a way that they are entering and getting out. So Pythagoras, which is this one, has been seen here, but also another photographer took a picture of him outside. So definitely there is a way he is passing under. Before continue, I wanted to tell you that all of this is also part of an initiative that we have here of the biocultural corridor for the manatee, which is working a lot with scuba divers and tourist guide and people that is all the time in the sea, working with the tourists or just out there, and they are giving us the photographies or the videos every time they see a manatee, and we have been able to photo identify already like 30 manatees, and we have a lot of sightings of manatees. So thanks to this citizen science initiative, we have been able to track these kind of individuals that are very distinguishable. So this is Pythagoras. So like I say, we could see him in outside, so in the sea, on the part of the sea. And then we have this surprise because we found him also. This is Pythagoras too. I don't know if you have time to see his triangle. We see him also here in Escalac. So Pythagoras is a guy that is moving a lot. We know he's a male. We know who is his mom because this girl has been following him for a while. So it's really nice the story of this animal without being able to capture him or tag him or anything. So he has moved a lot from the south, so the north, where are the cenotes, to the south, and he came back. And then we have, even more surprising, in the same cenote, we have this guy here. This guy here is a Florida manatee. And I want to just to tell you this story, try to make it short. This the same. We were working with the fishermen and the people, the tourist guys, and these people, and they started to send us picture of this manatee with this very characteristic scar. And the behavior of this animal was super different to our manatees. He was not shy at all. He was searching for water, for fresh water, and he spent a lot of time in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and this area that is not really an area that manatees like too much. So I say no, this is not our manatees. Looks like an animal that was released, maybe. So I asked to the colleagues in Belize, they didn't know him. I asked to my colleagues in Florida, and Marie, Amy, Sherry, well, maybe you know them, and they started to see in the database of photo identification for Florida manatees, and boom, it was a manatee, a Florida manatee that was photo identified many years ago, and we don't know why or how, but he just came to the Caribbean to visit us. Maybe he has a Mexican girlfriend, I don't know, but he came to visit us, and then we published this note of the first documentation of long distance travels by a Florida manatee to the Mexican Caribbean, and everything was nice. But after, I found this photo in the cenote of the Florida manatee. So as I told you before, that we were wondering how manatees learn how to travel underground in the caves, because I want you to understand that the underground is like a labyrinthic maze of it's a maze of caves and tunnels. So it's not like simple for anyone, even for a scuba diver, to orientate themselves. So one thing that what we think is that maybe the moms are teaching the babies to go underground, and they go to the cenotes for a reason too. In the cenotes, the salinity is medium. Is not very salty, but it's not fresh water. But still, they can access to some fresh water. So probably they are just attracted by fresh water, and of course, it's a very calm environment. So probably they like it because of this, and they usually use this kind of environments very often. But here with the case of Pancho, you see him in the photo hanging out with other friends there. You can see that the learning is also not only vertical from the mom to the calf, but also horizontal from animals that are not related. Definitely, a Florida manatee is not related to those ones, I guess. So it's very interesting the way they are learning this kind of routes. We need to know, we need to learn more about this kind of use, but I think it's really important for several reasons. And then we have here another evidence of the use of the sinkholes or these subterranean systems, and this is photo extracted from a video taken by Eric Ramos in Siancan, which is one of the coastal lagoons, and we can see a manatee with a baby in this cenote. This is actually a cenote. It's a sinkhole, which is a cenote. It's just that this in the bottom of the water, right? So he said to me, "You need to see this because this is crazy." And we were looking at this video. I don't have the video; I have the photo only. But you have to believe me. In the video, you can see the manatees going inside of this hole, and they never came back. So basically they disappear, like they open a door to another dimension or something, and they just enter and never came back. And the video passed and finished, and the battery died, and the animals never came back. So basically what we are seeing here is that definitely they know how to use this kind of systems, and it's really important now because there is a group of people with an initiative to declare like a natural area, the subterranean system in Yucatan Peninsula, or at least in Quintana Roo, which is very important because this is like a hydrological system, but under the terrain, and it's very important because it creates a lot of connectivity between the continent and the sea and the coral reefs, and also because there is a lot of communication and a lot of connectivity for many species of animals, aquatic animals, fishes, sharks, and other animals. But now we know that also could be a very important ecosystem that manatees are using, but we don't know exactly how they are using it. So what is next now is that we are really trying to monitor this karstic system and the cenote system as a very important and key area for manatees, especially for moms and babies. We have two phases now that are starting. One is to try to see more like behavior and try to follow more like the relationship between the animals that are using those areas, and the other is trying to describe the ecology of those areas. What is the salinity? What is the kind of vegetation that animals, the manatees can explore in these areas, which is very important to understand what is attracting them so much to these caves and these cenotes. We also are collecting feces, fecal samples in this area, and it's so amazing because we can actually know from whom is the sample, which for us that are always working in very darky waters is amazing. So we know the from whom become this feces, and then we can know many things, but principally the diet, because my hypothesis, but I need my student to tell me if I'm wrong or not, is that we're going to find seagrasses in the feces that we find in the cenotes, and this will explain that the manatees are probably using those areas just like a shelter areas, or maybe to take fresh water, but they are moving constantly to the sea to eat seagrasses because of the the most important nutrient content in the seagrass. So I think I went super fast. So thank you very much. Muchas gracias. And I like the fact that we have time. So if you have any question, I will be happy to respond.
so much, Natalie, for presenting. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A. First question from Rhonda. Is it dangerous for tagged manatees to go into these caves?
Is dangerous what? Sorry?
Is it dangerous for these manatees to go into the caves?
Well, I guess we don't know, but probably if they are doing it, it's because they can do it safely. We don't know I mean, the caves or the tunnel that we are sure that they are using are not very long, like 300 meters or 500 meters that they can pass without, I mean, they can pass without needing to breathe. But definitely they could be dangerous. They are dangerous for scuba divers if they don't really know the areas, because this is kind of labyrinthic. So that's why we are so amazed that they wander in these areas. So in conclusion, I think they are, but we don't have any evidence that they have been represent any danger for them. Like we didn't see an animal dead or something inside, so we don't know.
Another question, are there genetic differences between the different manatee ecotypes?
This is a very, very interesting question. Actually, we are working on this direction. Our work of the ecotypes is kind of recent, so we didn't have analyzed the genetic information in this direction, and probably this is a very interesting line for research right now. So no, we don't know yet, but this will be a very interesting question to respond.
How much of a manatee's freshwater requirement is met through the food that they eat?
A lot, because the seagrasses and let's say like the vegetation that is in the sea, it has a content of fresh water. And actually, there is a very interesting debate because it's not that manatees really need, but they really like. I mean, they need in the fact that we see that all the behavior and the movements are always direct to take fresh water, at least every time in a while. And there have been some experiments that totally cut the fresh water to manatees, and they start to have problems too. So they really need fresh water, even though they can take some part of the fresh water they need from the seagrasses, for example, of the marine plants.
What is the temperature in the cenote, the water temperature?
Oh, it's super good. You need to go. It's very good. I mean, it's very comfortable for humans without any kind of neoprene or anything. It's like, should be like 25, 24 degrees Celsius degrees. It's really hot in the hot season. It's very hot.
Are manatees in this area influenced by temperature differences in the water in
No.
the cenote, or is it something else that drives their movements?
No, differently to the Florida manatees, that the movements are driven by the temperature, because the temperature during the winter is going very, very down, and it's really cold. At least for me, I'm a tropical person, so for me this is very cold. For manatees even more. But no, we are in the tropics, so all the part of manatees, the Caribbean manatees are all of them in the tropics, so they don't really suffer because of the lower temperature, even when we have, let's say, pressure days, like it's not really cold. Like, I mean, we cannot talk about cold here. So no, not really. The temperature along the year is pretty stable. So this couldn't be like a trigger for them to really move. Maybe something that it could be pushing them to enter in these areas could be probably the hurricane season, the winds and this kind of storms, because this kind of habitats in the continent are more sheltered. So probably this could be a reason. But I think it's more related with the fresh water.
And what are some questions and things that you're looking forward to finding out more about for manatees using this area?
Well, everything. The most important is like how many manatees are really using it. If it's only a group of manatees that get crazy and just decided to go there because, I don't know, they didn't have anything else to do. So, hey, let's adventure here to see what happened. Or if it's a thing, like if the population is really going regularly to those areas. This is the first thing that is this is very interesting to know, if it's individuals in particular or if many animals, many manatees are doing this. Second, how often they are using those areas? Are they using these areas in the day or also in the night? What is the behavior? We have seen a lot of, well, not me, Valentina have seen a lot of reproductive behavior, groups, playing, a lot of social behavior too. So this is super interesting, this area, because it's also super cool to do a lot of observations because it's transparent. So everything is like perfect to do research. So you can do a lot of things. Because of the photo identification, we can know females, males. So also if it's it's a more important area for females with babies or not. And this kind of thing. So with photo identification, we can know a lot of things about site fidelity and this kind of questions. So I'm pretty sure that with the along the research, we're going to find more questions for sure.
I'm very excited to hear the next update on this. Thank you again for presenting for us and for our wonderful audience. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to email us and we'll be happy to get back to you. Beth, do you want to say anything? Close out the meeting?
I wanted to harass Natalie for one more question.
Okay.
Sorry, because I put it in the chat, and
you know.
This is something I've been thinking about, and I wondered if she would answer. So there are a couple theories regarding how whales navigate long distances and don't get lost. And some of my colleagues and I were actually looking into this for like rehabilitating manatees and seeing if soundscapes or something of that sort helps manatees navigate. What do you think manatees use to navigate their environments? Do you think it's environmental? Do you think it's acoustic? What do you think?
Well, we have several hypotheses. One is this. One is the soundscapes, definitely, because they are not really good with the sight, right? So probably they are using like the soundscape to orientate themselves. This is one. Another could be the salinity. I mean, they are starting to feel or to sense in a way the fresh water, and this can be also like a clue for them. But probably they always come in in company, and this is very interesting because they are always in couples or mom and baby or in a group. So it's like they are teaching each other, and probably they have mental maps or something to understand how it works. But yeah, this is something that we really don't know. This is another thing we wanted to do, is just like to put some GoPros or some cameras in specific places where we know they can enter and get out to see what is the route that they are following. And definitely with telemetry, we could know exactly the cave, the route that they are taking, and if it's always the same or not, or they are adapting, or it's more flexible, or it's always the same path that they are following. So yeah, too many questions, and I know there are a lot of manatee lovers here. So if you have ideas, we can maybe talk about it. Yeah,
we're going to be doing that soon when we talk with my colleague with the elephants. So we're going to be looking at vocal learning in manatees. So I'm really excited about that. But yes, thank you so much. This was fascinating. It was such a pleasure to hear your talk and learn more about the research that you spent the majority of your life doing. And thank you so much for your time. It's greatly appreciated.
No, I thank for the invitation. Thank you very much for having me and for listening to me.
And thank you everyone for coming to attend tonight. We really appreciate you chiming in to hear Natalie talk. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, guys.